Right, hopefully you've got your batteries installed before you begin to program these machines. They do switch themselves off after 5 minutes of non-use, and so the battery is a great way to back up what it is you've saved, unless you have the rare as hen's teeth RAM card. Both these machines are somewhat identical in terms of sound engine. There's a little bit different configurations. Each one of them does have 10 preset patterns that you can store your own drum patterns and bass patterns. I tend not to do the chord patterns, so this tutorial will not cover that. You start out with an 8th or a 16th note pulse if you want an 8th, 16th note rhythm, or if you want a swing triplet one, you start with a swing triplet. I'm going to do the swing triplet one on the HT-3000 in a moment, but first we'll start with the Casio HT-700. Let's just look over the things they have in common that you will need for the programming. Obviously, start and stop. They're in slightly different places. Delete. The delete key is very useful. It's a nice little shortcut. And the mode and data, and the wheel. And that's basically all you need. Oh, and the fill, because you can program a fill for each one of the 10 buttons. So now I'm going to start with the HT-700, and I'm going to modify the first beat, and let's see how it goes. Right, hopefully you've got your batteries installed, otherwise when you switch off, whatever you've recorded or programmed will be gone. And not only that, but these machines do switch themselves off after 5 minutes of non-use. So the first part of this tutorial will be recording an original drum pattern and bass pattern. And then I'll show you how to do a fill associated with that pattern, and then how you can switch from one pattern to another pattern. So here's the first part, recording a basic pattern. The first thing we do is we're going to start with rock 1, because that's an 8th note pulse and that's the one I want to use. Hit start, put the chord on. So that's what we have, and of course we're going to overwrite that, but that's the basic start. So the first thing you want to do, first thing I want to do, is get rid of that chord. So we go into mode, and we go into 94, which is the chord pattern, and then 1. Once you're in 1, you're actually in record mode. Now at this point, you don't have to do any recording, and just hit that delete key, delete. So now that it's been deleted, I'm going to store it. It's a good idea to save your work, right? There's no save button, there's no store button. If this internal light is on, you're ready to store. So I'm going to put it here. So if we listen to that back, hit start. The chord is gone. Now the next thing I'm going to do is change the rhythm pattern. So we go in, the rhythm pattern is 92. So we make sure mode 92 means I'm going to access the rhythm pattern. And data is 1. That means record mode. Now, another use of the delete key is you can delete individual instruments instead of the entire pattern. So if we hit start, I can turn the bass down here. By the way, there's no metronome. So although we're actually recording right now, if you don't have a bass or something going, you won't know exactly where you are. So again, I'm going to use the delete key to get rid of that snare drum. Hold down delete, and then however long you want the delete to happen. I'm going to get rid of that tom as well. And I'm going to get rid of the bass drum. And I'm going to put 4 on the floor on the bass drum. Some claps, why not? Okay, so that's my simple pattern, and because I'm at 92 and 1, it means I'm ready to store. Internal is lit, so I'm going to put it in the same place, here. Now when we hit start, put it on fingered. By using the Casio chord on, you just have to hold down the root of the chord that you want, which is C in this case. Okay, now, next thing we're going to do is change that bass pattern and actually play a more melodic bass line. Just so you know, whatever tempo is set here when you go into record mode, that's going to be the tempo that you're recording at. You can't adjust the tempo before you record. So I'm going to just slow it down here. Right, let's put it down to 88. And now we're going to go into record mode, which is 93 for the bass pattern. So we scroll to 93. And the data needs to be on 1. That means record mode. And I'm going to delete that whole pattern. Again, as you know, you can hold the delete down and it will erase as you go, or it'll just get rid of the whole thing at once. So now if we hit start, now I'm ready to record my bass line. You only have this much of the keyboard to record on, but it's enough to get a basic pattern down. Great, so that's going to be our little bass part. And again, if this light is on, it's 93, 1, you're ready to store. I'm going to put it here. Now we put the tempo back up, something like 120, and make sure we just have to hold down one note. Here we go. And there we are. That's how you get a basic pattern going. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is program a fill to go with this pattern here. If you recall, okay, so I'm going to have a fill associated with that, so we're not just looping around the same pattern all again. So same thing, we're going to go into the rhythm pattern first, which is 92, and put it in record mode. And this time, instead of pressing start and stop, you're going to hit fill. And we're going to delete most of that, right? Let's make the hi-hats 8th notes, shall we? I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so that's recorded. I'm not going to store it. Well, I could store it, can't I? Store it. Let's go. I want to do the bass. And that'll save a little bit of time. So now we go to the bass pattern, which will be 93. Now this is where you have to remember what you're middle of doing. We're not recording a pattern, we're recording a fill. So we go to 93, 1, and hit fill. So I'm just going to delete that. And so that's our little fill, and we store it here. Now, if I've done everything correctly, we should be able to play the groove and then play the fill. So here we go. There we go. So that's how you do a fill. Next, we're going to add a variation drum beat. We're going to keep the bass the same, but we're going to add maybe some hand percussion on top of our main beat. Just to remind you, here's our beat. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go into mode 92, which is our drums. 92 is the rhythm pattern. Go into record mode. Great. And hit start. Put some congas maybe. There's a nice little rim shot here. Higher. Maybe change some of that. Okay, so now you can see we've added some extra percussion. So now I'm going to store it under 2, internal 2. Put that here. Bang. So because I didn't change the bass, we should now have, put it on for... So if we start over, we start with 1. We're going to do 1, play the fill, and go into 2. So it should sound like this. Fill. So it would the next thing to do, of course, would be to put a fill here on 2. So this would be your A pattern with a fill. This would be your B pattern with a fill, and you can go backwards and forwards between the two of them. So that's basically it. That's how you get your rhythm patterns. Let's see what happens if I do this. Here we go.